Mr. Schultz, the question that we received the most of by far ahead of this town hall was about your potential impact on the 2020 race. So on that topic, let me bring in Democrat Alex Lammers from Rice University, a freshman. What's your question?
Hi. I'm not a fan of the two-party system. Your statements about a widening ideological gap and functional divide between Democrats and Republicans are true. But if you choose to run in 2020, you will have to convince millions of Americans that a vote for you is not a vote for Donald Trump. Why is this the time, with considerable risk of contributing to his reelection, to try something new?
Thank you, Alex. Let's go back to the question I asked earlier, just to make sure we reset. I asked the audience, does anyone in the entire audience think that things are going well and the U.S. government is representing this audience and the American people well? And there wasn't one hand that goes up. I think that is primary evidence that the majority of Americans who are not on the extreme left and the extreme right feel as if they are not being represented and that we are losing something. We all know something's not quite right. And so when I look at the situation, I have a strong belief that it's time to disrupt the two-party system that is broken, that is based on revenge politics. And now people have asked me, how could you win? And I think this is a very important point. I know probably want to get to the next question, is that in the last almost 30 years, every presidential election basically came down to 8 to 10 battleground states. But can you imagine a situation, if I run for president, we will be on the ballot of every state, and then the majority of every state, almost 50 states, a couple of them will not be in play, but let's say 45. For the first time in over 30 years, everyone's vote will matter. So if you're a Democrat in a red state, your vote doesn't matter because it's predetermined, and vice versa. But in a three-person race in almost 50 states, for the first time in over 30 years, American people have a voice and their vote really counts. And I'm here not saying I'm against the Democratic Party. I'm here saying I no longer recognize how far left they've gone. I just don't see myself in the party. And I believe that the majority of Americans feel like I do. The far right and the far left does not represent them, and they're looking for a home. I also think millions of Republicans who do not want to pull the lever for Donald Trump, if they have a better choice versus a far left Democrat, will come my way.
So let's dig into this a little bit.
Sure.
Yes or no? Is there any world in which you run as a Democrat?
No.
Okay. There you go.
I didn't even have to think about that.
Okay.
No, and I have nothing against the Democratic Party. It just I don't feel represented.
To that point, you have said, and you just repeated it, that you promise that you will not be a spoiler, that you will not run, that you will not continue running if it would mean a second term for President Trump.
Okay.
If you run, Mr. Schultz, and if you look at the polls in the fall of 2020, and it looks like you are going to be a spoiler, like you will get President Trump reelected, will you drop out of the race?
Okay, a very important question. So let's clarify this right now, right here, on national TV on CNN. First off, the issue of being a spoiler, how can you spoil a system that is already broken? It's just not working. So it's not the right word. Now, what I've said publicly, and I want to repeat, if the math doesn't tally up when I get to the next 3 or 4 months and I take my message out to the American people and I continue to talk this way about how concerned I am about the country and how much I think we can do so much better under a different process, if the numbers don't add up, I will not run for president because I will not do anything whatsoever to reelect Donald Trump. But no one wants to see him fired more than me.
Mr. Schultz, the fall of 2020 is what I was asking about. If you do run and the numbers don't add up your way and it looks like it would mean a second term for the president, would you commit to dropping out?
What I've just said is I am not going to run for president if it looks in any way, shape, or form.
But, you know, look at 2016. Things change.
Yeah, well, they do change. But at this point right now, I'm asking a different question. And that is, it's a lot less about me than giving the American people a voice that they don't have. And what better expression of our democracy than giving the American people a better choice, a new choice? There's nothing in the Constitution, not one word, that says anything about parties. So why can't I raise my voice and say, I'm deeply concerned about where we are as a country. I'm deeply concerned about our standing in the world, which we have not gotten into. And I want to restore a set of values and dignity back into the Oval Office. And I want to see the American people once again feel as if America is a place for everyone, regardless of your station in life, the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your gender, that everyone has an opportunity in America, and give the power of our government back to the American people. So, that is why I'm here.
Alex, you're still with us? Did Mr. Schultz answer your question?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Thank you for that, Alex. With us now is Independent Stephen Preston, a retired U.S. Army officer. Thank you for your service to all of us. What's your question?
Sir, on 60 Minutes, you stated, and I'm quoting, "Is it in our national interest to have a fight with Mexico, Canada, the EU, China, NATO?" You asked, "These are our friends, these are our allies. We're much better as a country being part of the world order." My question is, in light of their human and labor rights record, ethnic crackdowns, unfair trade practices, and militarism in the South China Sea, are the Chinese our allies and our friends?
So when I made that statement at 60 Minutes, I incorrectly included China in the sentence about allies. I don't believe China is our ally, but I also do not believe China is our enemy. What I do believe is that China is a fierce competitor of the United States. I also think there are areas that are in our national interest to cooperate with China. We need China's cooperation to help solve the problem of North Korea. We also need China's cooperation specifically with lots of other nations with regard to doing everything we can to solve the climate change issue. What's involved right now, though, in terms of the trade and the tariff war that President Trump has started, which I think is such a strategic mistake, is three things have happened. One is that this trade and tariff war has resulted on a tax on U.S. consumers on lots of goods and services. That's one. Second, every farmer, everyone within the agricultural industry, everyone in the steel industry has lost markets that will not come back for years. And the third thing, and most importantly, is that we have damaged, at the highest possible level, an important diplomatic relationship with China, as China is building something very, very important that has not been discussed a great deal about, called One Belt Road, which is think about it as a super infrastructure development. And they are investing billions of dollars. That one effort, and then them taking the long view, is going to give them an economic advantage in the most important future region of the world, the entire Asia-Pac region. And you know where we are? We're absent. We're not there. We're not talking to them about that. We're not participating. We're not a partner in TPP. We're not doing anything. We've removed ourselves. So what I said on 60 Minutes, which I repeat, is that this president, in less than 2 years, has fractured most relationships with not only every government, but every head of state. For what purpose? To what end? We have always been a country that has supported our allies. We've always been a country that has built trust and confidence with the rest of the world. The world needs America's leadership. The world needs America's values. And we have removed ourselves. If I run for president, one of the first things I would do is I would visit every world leader that this president has damaged in terms of our relationship and restore the trust and confidence in America. Because we need them to go forward to establish America's leadership economically and in the world order today.
So let's talk about China a little bit more, if we could here, because you've been many, many times.
Yes.
And I believe Starbucks is opening a new store in China every 15 hours. You own personally more than 33 million shares in Starbucks stock, which closed at a record high yesterday. That's over $2 billion worth. And you've said that the exposure of Starbucks in China will be greater than in the United States pretty soon. If you become president, how is Starbucks' considerable reliance on China not a conflict of interest for you?
A very important question. First off, in the last 20 years, Starbucks has built almost 4,000 stores in China and done it in a very successful way by partnering with the Chinese government, by demonstrating to them American values. As an example, Not only have we given health care to our employees in the US, we actually gave critical health care to the parents of our employees in China. The first company, not only Chinese company, first company ever to do anything like that, demonstrating America's values and the humanity of our company. What I've said publicly is that if I run for president, there will be no conflict of interest of anything that has to do with Starbucks, and certainly with regard to China.
So
I'm running, if I run for president, I'm running not as an independent, I'm running as an American, wrapping myself in the American flag. My first order of business is to put the American people first in everything I do, and there will be no conflict of interest in anything I have to do legally to separate myself from my financial interest with regard to China will be completely done. I am not Donald Trump.